Really? That's the effort we're getting? That's the effort y'all are gonna give the fans that paid nearly $400 for a ticket. That's the embarrassing, piss poor effort y'all are going to give them in an all-star game. At this game, cancel the all-star game. At this rate, cancel the all-star game, name people all-stars, mail them an award, and keep the regular season going. This is trash. This is straight up.
Imagine spending $400 on a single ticket. Not floor seats, not courtside. We are talking about nosebleed seats so high up that the players look like tiny moving dots on a hardwood floor. You saved up. You planned the trip. You told everybody you were going to the WNBA All-Star Weekend, and you were hyped beyond belief. And then the game started. And within the first 5 minutes, you realized something was horrifyingly wrong. The players were jogging, laughing, treating a sold-out arena full of paying fans like it was a casual Tuesday morning shoot-around. And right there, in the middle of all that embarrassing laziness, one player had finally seen enough. Caitlyn Clark didn't just snap quietly on the bench. She went completely nuclear in front of the entire world, called out her fellow All-Stars by name, exposed the league's biggest dirty secret, and then delivered an ultimatum so powerful that it sent shockwaves all the way to the commissioner's office. Before we get into everything, drop a comment right now and tell us, do you think the WNBA players actually respect their own fans? Because what happened this weekend will genuinely leave you speechless. Let's get into it.
Look like Caitlyn Clark is going to get the last laugh today during the WNBA All-Star Game. Now, I watched some of this game, and I have to be honest with you. It is boring. It is just boring. You can tell the players ain't playing for real. You can tell that they really ain't into it. And at this point, for the WNBA to already be kind of struggling with ratings, you would think that they would have made it their mission to go out there and put on for the fans. And unfortunately, we did not get that today. They're not putting on for the fans. Now, I am completely disappointed with all of this. I just got to be honest. And it looked like Caitlyn Clark is too. Caitlyn Clark calls out Shanae, Agumake, and other WNBA players for pretty much scamming the fans, because that's exactly what they're doing. They scamming the fans, and to me, this is a horrible look for a league that is already struggling. Caitlyn Clark.
The 2026 WNBA All-Star Weekend wasn't just sold as a basketball game. It was packaged, marketed, and delivered to the public as the single greatest celebration of women's basketball that this sport had ever seen. Corporate sponsors didn't just show up with a little money and a logo placement. They pumped over $10 million into high-end production, elaborate stage setups, premium broadcast packages, and a marketing campaign that ran for months across every major platform. Broadcast networks dedicated enormous blocks of airtime to hyping this event as a genuinely historic showcase. Analysts were calling it a turning point for the league. Commentators were predicting that this weekend would cement women's basketball's place at the absolute top of the American sports conversation. And the fans believed every single word of it. Dedicated supporters across the country didn't just buy tickets casually. They emptied savings accounts. They booked flights. They reserved hotel rooms months in advance. They pulled their kids out of school for a long weekend just to experience what the league had been promising would be something truly unforgettable. The average get-in price before Caitlyn Clark entered the league? You could walk through those arena doors for $30. In Clark's rookie season, that number jumped to $118. Even in the year she dealt with injuries and missed significant time, the floor price held at $71. But this year, this weekend, the cheapest available ticket in the entire building was sitting at nearly $400, and that wasn't for premium placement near the court. That was the absolute entry-level price, just to get inside the building and sit in the upper sections where you needed binoculars to see the paint clearly. Those fans showed up expecting elite competition. They showed up expecting the kind of electric atmosphere that matches the price tag they paid without hesitation. They showed up because the league had spent months telling them this was going to be something special. And the moment the opening tip-off went into the air, the entire illusion collapsed in real time. What unfolded on that court in the opening possessions wasn't just disappointing. It was embarrassing. It was the kind of performance that makes you question whether the people on that floor have any respect at all for the people who paid to watch them. And the worst of it was only just beginning.
This is the most pathetic athletic feat I've ever seen. Brick layup into...
Oh, come on, man. Come on, man. I know you laughing too. Bro, it's funny. It's funny. It's funny, man. I'm sorry. You can't miss this many layups and then think they're talking about you when it's VIP get off the plane. Like, no. After all these missed layups, y'all really trying to act like she's the face of the league?
Spacey! Body shot, layup, bang! Falls to the ground, then a me complain, bang! This is the most pathetic athletic feat I've ever seen. Brick layup into a me bound, contested brick under the...
Come on, how'd you miss that one? Come on.
Cup, no one does it better! Bang! Did you say cup? Like buttercup? Butter! Don't do it to him. Buttercup! I was shooting an impressive 12% from 3. Make that 56 block shots as well! Burn! Kind of crazy she got hurt the game after complaining about being called a protected species. Context matters. Karma. Me bound. Bang! Back to the hook and hope type she. F it. Rims up there somewhere. Burn! Player in the NBA was called that. It'd be a sweet nickname. Now introducing the
There is a specific kind of silence that falls over an arena when something goes terribly wrong. It isn't the anticipatory silence before a big shot. It isn't the held breath quiet of a close game moment. It is the dead, stunned, almost offended silence of a crowd that cannot believe what they are watching with their own eyes. That is exactly the silence that filled the building within the first few minutes of the 2026 WNBA All-Star Game, and the player responsible for triggering it was Angel Reese. Now let's be clear about what we are not talking about here. We are not talking about missed contested shots against tight physical defense. We are not talking about difficult pull-up jumpers that rim out under pressure. What happened in that game was on an entirely different level of unacceptable. Reese caught clean, direct passes in the paint with 0 defenders anywhere near her body. The lane was wide open. The rim was right in front of her face. And on back-to-back possessions, she fumbled the catch, rushed her footwork, and launched the ball completely off the backboard in a manner so baffling that the commentators genuinely didn't know what to say on live television. The crowd didn't boo loudly. They didn't chant anything. They simply fell into that awful, judgmental silence that communicates more disappointment than any noise ever could. The commentators tried to brush it off with nervous laughter and talk about all-star rust and the casual exhibition atmosphere. But nobody in that building bought the excuse for a single second. These are professional athletes. Missing wide-open, uncontested layups directly under the rim isn't rust. It is a fundamental failure of focus and basic effort. And while all of this was unfolding right in front of her, Caitlyn Clark was sitting on the bench watching every single moment with an expression that told the entire story. Every blown layup, every casual jog back on defense while the opposing team pushed in transition and scored easy buckets. Every laugh and casual hand wave on the court while fans sat in their $400 seats with their stomachs dropping. Clark absorbed all of it. The frustration building on her face wasn't subtle. It was visible from across the arena, captured clearly on every broadcast camera that panned to the bench. The tension in that building was reaching a boiling point, and everyone watching could feel that something was about to give. When Caitlyn Clark stepped onto that floor, she made an immediate and unmistakable decision. She was not going to let the lazy, disinterested energy of the evening drag her into the same mud. She wasn't going to pace herself for a casual exhibition. She wasn't going to treat the fans like they were lucky just to be in the same building as her. Clark came out firing with the kind of intensity that most players reserve for playoff elimination games, and she did it from the very first possession. She was pulling up from 5 feet behind the logo without hesitation. She was sprinting off screens and creating separation from defenders who weren't even fully committing to their coverage. She was firing laser passes to cutters and moving the ball with a pace and precision that made the whole game feel different when she had the ball in her hands. The energy in the building shifted noticeably every single time Clark touched the rock. Fans who had been sitting in stunned, disappointed silence suddenly came to life. People were out of their seats. The noise level climbed in a way that it simply hadn't before she started cooking. And then the scoring record fell. In under 30 minutes of game action, Clark blew past the previous All-Star scoring record with an offensive performance that left rival coaches standing at their clipboards with their mouths slightly open. 45 points. A double-double. In less time than most players used to find their rhythm in a casual exhibition setting, Clark had just rewritten the record books. Analysts watching from home were noting that if she had played a full allotment of minutes, the number could have pushed into the 60s. She was that unstoppable, and that locked in while everyone around her was essentially going through the motions. But here is the thing that made Clark's record-breaking night more remarkable than just the box score numbers. She didn't do it for the trophy. She didn't do it to pad her personal statistics in a game that meant nothing in the standings. She did it because fans had paid real money to sit in those seats, and they deserved to see someone give a genuine, honest effort. She did it because that is the standard she holds herself to every single time she puts on a jersey. And she expected everyone else in that building to hold the same standard. They didn't, and she was about to make that very clear to absolutely everyone. The final horn hadn't even finished echoing through the arena when Caitlyn Clark was already moving with purpose. She didn't linger on the court for the standard post-game handshake stroll. She didn't stop for the league-arranged photo opportunities with the sponsors' banners perfectly positioned in the background. She didn't pull on a smile for the PR handlers who were already positioning themselves to manage the narrative of what had just happened on that floor. Clark walked directly, deliberately, and with complete composure straight past all of it and right up to the press conference podium. And then she said exactly what she was thinking. In a setting where most professional athletes are carefully coached to deliver safe, vague, controversy-free answers that protect the league's image and their own endorsement deals, Clark threw the entire playbook out the window. She looked straight at the assembled media and described the all-star performance as a direct betrayal of the fans who had invested their money and their trust in the event. She didn't dance around it. She didn't soften the edges with careful diplomatic phrasing. She called it what it was. She stated clearly that players who miss wide, open, uncontested layups due to a complete absence of effort, and who jog through an all-star game while fans sit in $400 seats, are actively disrespecting the people who keep this entire league financially alive. She called out the passive aggression that veteran players had been directing at her throughout the season. She pulled back the curtain on the petty internal dynamics and the complete absence of accountability from the coaching staff. She made it undeniably, uncomfortably public. The media room went completely quiet, not the polite, waiting for the next question quiet of a standard press conference. The stunned, nobody knows what to say quiet of a room full of journalists who just witnessed someone blow up a carefully constructed institutional fiction on live television. The PR handlers standing near the back of the room looked like they had just watched a controlled demolition take out a building. They were still standing inside. Clark had just pulled back the curtain on the WNBA's biggest open secret. That a significant portion of the league's roster treats the fans like an afterthought, treats the product like a guaranteed paycheck, and has never once asked themselves whether the people buying the tickets actually feel like their money was respected. There was no walking any of it back, and she wasn't finished. Hours after the press conference cameras had been packed away, and the media had filed their initial reports, something was happening inside the private tunnels beneath the arena that the league absolutely did not want becoming public knowledge. Leaks confirmed that Caitlyn Clark had requested and received a direct meeting with WNBA league executives in a closed-door setting away from the cameras and the reporters and the carefully managed public image machinery. And what she said inside that room sent the entire front office into a state of genuine panic. Clark was not venting frustration in that tunnel. She was not asking for sympathy or requesting that someone look into the situation when they got a free moment. She was delivering a structured, clear, and completely serious ultimatum with specific demands attached to it. The message was simple and non-negotiable. If the WNBA wanted Caitlyn Clark to continue participating in all-star events, if they wanted her to keep drawing the record-breaking viewership numbers and the global sponsorship attention that has become the financial backbone of the league's growth, they needed to make immediate changes to who they were putting on that floor with her. And her number one specific demand was Sophie Cunningham. Clark made the case directly and without any sugarcoating. While players like Cunningham, who bring grit, physicality, intensity, and a genuine fighter's mentality to every single game, were being systematically overlooked and pushed to the margins by the league's corporate politics and popularity-based selection process, the all-star roster was being handed to players who were content to jog through the event and collect the experience like a paid vacation. Clark pointed out that Cunningham never mails in a defensive possession. She never takes a shortcut on a loose ball. She never treats a paying crowd like an inconvenience. And that is exactly the kind of competitor that a meaningful all-star event is supposed to celebrate. The executives in that room understood very clearly what was at stake. This wasn't a disgruntled player venting after a bad game. This was the single most valuable asset in women's basketball, drawing a hard, unmovable line and making it explicitly clear that she was prepared to enforce it. The meeting ended with no public statement from the league, no press release, no carefully worded response. Just a very uncomfortable silence from an executive suite that suddenly realized exactly how much leverage Caitlyn Clark holds over their entire operation. And the numbers make that leverage impossible to argue with. Here is a moment that didn't get nearly enough attention in the immediate post-game conversation, and it reveals something deeply uncomfortable about the culture that has taken root in the WNBA over the past couple of seasons. After the All-Star game, reporters gathered the players together and asked a simple, straightforward question. Marina Mabrey had tied the WNBA single-game scoring record at 53 points. Which current player, the reporters asked, do you think is most likely to be the one who eventually breaks that record? It should have been an easy question. Caitlyn Clark had just finished putting up 45 points and a double-double in under 30 minutes of exhibition game action. If she had played a full allotment of minutes, conservative estimates had her comfortably clearing the record. She was the only player in that building who had even come close to threatening 53 in recent memory. She had done it in a meaningless exhibition without even trying to pad her numbers. The answer should have been obvious. Not a single player said Caitlyn Clark. One after another, the responses came back with A'ja Wilson, Paige Buchers, Olivia Miles, Stewie, and Cindy Taylor. One player even gave a confident, self-assured prediction that she herself would be the one to break it. Nobody mentioned the woman who had literally just spent 30 minutes making every defender in the building look completely helpless while breaking the All-Star scoring record. The omission wasn't accidental. It wasn't a coincidence. It was a coordinated, deliberate exercise in erasure that told you everything you need to know about the internal politics operating beneath the surface of this league. And this pattern didn't start at the All-Star Weekend. It has been building consistently throughout Clark's time in the league. The passive-aggressive exclusion, the pointed silences in interviews, the moments where her name is conspicuously absent from conversations where it should be the first one mentioned. What makes it particularly remarkable this time is that it happened in public, on camera, with reporters present, hours after Clark had single-handedly kept the All-Star broadcast from becoming a complete, unwatchable disaster for the national television audience. The veterans tried to erase her name from the record books verbally while she was still in the same building. And if there was any remaining doubt about why Clark reached her breaking point this weekend, that interview answered it completely. Let's talk about what the numbers actually look like, because the financial and viewership reality of the WNBA without Caitlyn Clark is something that league executives have never been willing to say out loud in a public setting, but absolutely cannot stop thinking about in their private conversations. The internal projections are not complicated. When Clark is not on the floor, television ratings drop by over 70%. That is not a small dip in viewership. That is a near-total collapse of the broadcast audience that the league depends on to maintain its relationships with the networks and the major corporate sponsors who fund the entire operation. Ticket prices tell the same story in an even more direct way. Before Clark entered the league, the average get-in price for an All-Star game was $30, not $300. $30. In her rookie season alone, that number jumped to $118 without any significant changes to the event format or the roster quality. It just jumped because Clark was going to be there. In the year she dealt with injuries and reduced availability, the price pulled back down to $71. And this year, with Clark healthy and fully engaged, the floor price for the cheapest ticket in the building sat at nearly $400. The league did not build that price increase through improved product quality. They did not earn it through years of disciplined roster construction and competitive excellence. That price increase exists entirely because one player made the product worth paying for, and the fans understood that long before the league's executives were willing to admit it publicly. Commissioner Cathy Engelbert is now sitting in the most uncomfortable position of her entire tenure. Clark's public call-out of the All-Star effort, her private ultimatum in the tunnel, and her specific demand for players like Sophie Cunningham have placed the league in an impossible bind. Giving Clark everything she's asking for risks alienating the veteran players who have been in the league longer and have their own influence over the locker room culture. refusing Clark's demands risks something far more catastrophic. Because without Clark's consistent presence, engagement, and willingness to be the face of the league's biggest events, the financial architecture that the WNBA has spent the last 2 years carefully constructing starts showing some very serious cracks very quickly. The old guard tried to manage Clark, contain her, and minimize her. That strategy just ran out of road entirely. Here is where everything stands right now. Caitlyn Clark walked into the 2026 WNBA All-Star Weekend as the most valuable player in women's basketball. She walked out of it as something more significant than that. She became the first player in the league's history to publicly, directly, and without a single moment of hesitation, call out the institutional culture of fan disrespect that has quietly held this league back for years. She broke the scoring record, exposed the lazy effort, delivered a private ultimatum that panicked an entire front office, and watched her fellow All-Stars erase her name from a conversation she had literally just dominated. And she handled every single moment of it on her own terms. The WNBA is now at a genuine crossroads. The league can evolve, embrace accountability, and build something worthy of the $400 tickets their fans are buying. Or it can keep protecting the status quo and find out very quickly what the product looks like when the one person holding it all together decides she has had enough. What do you think happens next? Does the league listen to Clark, or do they make the biggest mistake in WNBA history? Drop your honest take in the comments right now. And if this video gave you something to think about, you already know what to do, like subscribe and stay locked in with Clark Spotlight.